My name is Camilla and I'm a shark researcher at Florida International University. I've wanted to be a marine biologist since I was 5 years old. I think kind of like every little kid, I was interested in dolphins at first, but then I was volunteering at the local aquarium in my town in North Carolina, and I started noticing how terrified people were of sharks. Like they would come up to the tank and scream and run away, which people don't usually do that when they see lions or gorillas at the zoo. So at 12 years old, I became really interested in sharks, and then I never gave up on that idea. Right now, I'm finishing up my PhD studying shark populations in the Caribbean and small-scale fisheries, so how people catch them, consume them, and sometimes they enter the market as well. Well, unfortunately, a lot of shark species are endangered or heavily fished. So what we're trying to figure out is just how much fisheries pressure are there on them, and also how much do people depend on them to sustain their livelihood. So a lot of the times in developing countries, they catch the shark and they eat it, and then there's never any data as to which species are being caught, where, how much is being consumed. So we're probably underestimating the amount of sharks that are being caught, as well as underestimating their value to the local communities. Sharks are really important in their ecosystems because they're top predators, although not all species, but most species are. And so they have a really key role in maintaining the ecosystems healthy. Also because they are at the top of the food pyramid or the food web, they're kind of just low in numbers naturally. So if on top of that we're overfishing them, there's just going to be very few sharks to be able to play out the role that they have. So we say, lions are the king of the jungle and everybody loves these, wild animals. But with sharks, there's this extra level of fear, a lot of it driven by the media.
Nice. I'm thinking about a scuba diving trip.
Ooh.
Or not. You okay? Yeah, no, I'm good.
But also driven by the fact that we're not marine animals, so we're not very comfortable in the ocean, and we probably feel a little more vulnerable and scared than we would with a terrestrial animal. So there's a lot of misconceptions that people have about sharks. Number one is that sharks like to eat humans, which is just not true. Humans are not part of a shark's diet, although there's many types of sharks that eat many types of food, from plankton to jellyfish and crabs to even eating other sharks. Humans are just not part of that equation. So that's probably the biggest misconception, that they're these man-eating machines, when if they ever attack a human, it's just a case of mistaken identity and curiosity. Another big misconception that people have about sharks is that they attack more in the summer, when really sharks are in the ocean all year round. That's their home. It's just that there's more humans in the ocean during the summer. And also, there's just more media coverage of it during the summer. So people tend to be more scared, like there's more sharks, like they're reproducing or they're migrating, which sometimes they are, but most of the time it just has to do with the media focusing more on sharks during the summer, and also because of Shark Week. And then the rest of the year we kind of forget about them. I think another misconception that people have about sharks is that sharks are these really huge animals with huge teeth, but there's over 400 shark species. Some of them are very, very tiny, just a couple inches long, while there's just some species that are a foot or 2 feet long. So there's some very small sharks as well. They're not all this big, great white kind of Jaws type of shark. There's a huge variety in size, color, diet, where they're found, and it's a very diverse group of animals. Another big misconception people have are about blood and entering the water with your bleeding if you have a scratch or if you have some sort of bruise. Well, first of all, if you're not actively bleeding, that's really not going to attract a shark, even though they can sense very few amounts of blood in the water. It's not necessarily worth it to them to go explore if it's just a couple drops. Also, like I said, humans are not part of a shark's diet, so they're usually attracted to oilier fish blood that's not similar to human blood at all. So as long as you're not profusely bleeding, or as long as you're not next to somebody who's fishing with fish blood, it's very unlikely that you're gonna attract an aggressive shark. Even though there's a lot of endangered sharks, there are a lot of sharks in the water, and especially here in Florida, or if you go to the Bahamas, if you enter the water, it's a very high chance that there's a shark around you that you probably are not aware of. So even though it sounds very scary to people to hear that when you enter the ocean, it's likely that there's a shark around you, it's true. But the likelihood of being attacked is very, very low. I think the average usually is only 1 to 3 people in the world die of a shark attack. So even if you are attacked, the likelihood you're going to survive is very high. And sharks are less deadly than dogs, crocodiles, mosquitoes, and even humans. So, it's really not the deadliest animal out there. You shouldn't have to worry that much about a shark attack on your summer vacation more than you would have to worry about driving to the airport or something happening to your airplane. It depends on whether you're swimming or diving, how likely you are to encounter a shark, and how well you're going to be able to read its behavior. So if you're diving, most of the time the sharks are kind of just curious, and if they approach you, it's just to kind of check out what you're doing. However, if you see a shark doing some sort of aggressive behavior, which usually entails swimming rapidly or kind of hunching its back, the way kind of cats do when they get startled, then you know that that's some sort of aggressive territorial behavior, and you should probably move further away, or if you feel that uncomfortable, then just get out of the water. However, if you feel like a shark is coming to you to attack you, what they say about punching the shark in the nose, that's right, because sharks have these sensory cells that are very overstimulated. So if you hit them there, it's going to be very painful. And also, sharks are not being used to being punched, so it's going to surprise it for sure, and it'll probably swim away, and you should exit the water. A lot of the times when people see sharks and they see aggressive behavior and they don't leave, they could have had the chance to avoid that interaction. I mean, we're the smart ones, so if you don't feel safe, then you should just probably leave it alone. You don't need to get in its space just because you want to keep diving or you want to keep fishing or whatever. I think just, knowing that about 50% of the sharks that we know of are either endangered or vulnerable, or we don't have enough data, really warrants the need to have more shark research now, because we're kind of fighting against time, and so we need to figure out what we can do to help them, or to help the populations be stable as soon as possible before it's too late. So I definitely encourage everybody to do shark research, or to donate to shark societies, or even to just go snorkeling or diving with sharks. I know it sounds really terrifying, and most of my family never wanted to do that, but when I take them, they truly appreciate the beauty of a shark, and they really see that there's nothing to be scared of. So I think for people who are afraid of sharks, I would actually recommend that they would, go and try to interact with them, even if it's at an aquarium, or obviously in the ocean with them would be the best. But it just shows you that, they really are a magnificent animal, just like a lion or any other of these wildlife that we usually like to think they're adorable, like pandas or dolphins. Dolphins are actually, they can be pretty dangerous, but nobody wants to be afraid of them because of just the way the media covers them, and there's all these cute animals and, like stuffed animals and things like that we're not so afraid of dolphins, but dolphins can be just as scary as sharks. It's just the way you perceive them. Currently, right now, we're wrapping up the project called Global Finprint, which is the world's largest shark and ray research project to date. It's been done in about 52 countries, I think over 300 reefs around the world. And so what we do is we put a GoPro with some bait in front of it, and we put it on the bottom of the coral reefs for 90 minutes or 60 minutes. And so what it does is it films everything there, all the fish, all the crabs, anything that comes in front of the frame, but the bait attracts, potential sharks and rays in the area, so that we can see what species are there, if they're male or female, we can see a relative abundance, and then we can also gather data or any other animal that comes across it. So we've seen videos of dolphins and crabs fighting and things of that nature. So it's a really great method because we're not actually catching the shark, so we're not stressing it by having it on the line. It's more of a passive method that allows you to see what's already there. And we're doing this, like I said, around the world, so it can give us a snapshot of what the shark populations are looking like across different regulations, conservation management, and population pressures, anything of that nature. So it's a really great project. We have a Global Finprint website. It's globalfinprint.org, and it's funded by Vulcan, which is it's Paul G. Allen's organization. So there's a lot of factors affecting shark populations right now. The number one is overfishing. So they're either being caught intentionally for something like the shark fin market in Asia, or they're just being caught in bycatch and just thrown overboard dead, or in a lot of cases for sustenance fisheries, they're being caught by mistake, but they still eat them because they use it to feed themselves and their families. So overfishing is definitely the number one problem. But we also have climate change and the destruction of habitats like coral reefs, overfishing of their food items, so overfishing of other fish species that they depend on to live. So there's a lot of factors actually that are working together against shark populations. So one of the main things people can do is just not consume shark products. I know a lot of people think that they're not eating shark, but shark is often mislabeled, or sometimes it's even not. You can see it at Publix. Like Publix sells shark, so just never buy shark. Try not to consume shark fin soup, or at least reduce your consumption. A lot of cosmetics also have shark products in them. A lot of pet food have sharks in them. So just read the labels, make sure you're not consuming any shark products. And again, donating either your money or time to any sort of organizations that are doing shark research or shark management, conservation, education. Of course, children are the future, so show documentaries to children, take them to aquariums, teach them that they're not scary, that they're beautiful, and that they should be protected.